Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lindsay, a member of the CK-12 team, and my colleague Katie and I will be running this session on CK-12 and Google Classroom. We're so glad that you've joined us. Before we start, let's make sure everyone is comfortable with the Zoom webinar platform. You should see two different options on your Zoom screen, one for Q&A and one for chat. Throughout today's presentation, whenever you have a question about CK-12, please post it in the Q&A window. This is the window that we'll be actively monitoring. You'll be getting typed answers. We'll stop and we'll do some demos based on some of those questions. So keep your CK-12 questions in the Q&A window. The chat window is a place for community conversation. I see that that's just picking up, where many of you are introducing yourselves, telling us what part of the world that you're in. You're welcome to tell us what instruction is going to look like for you if you're back in the classroom or all remote. The key to the chat window is just making sure that you send all of your posts to all panelists and attendees. By default, it just sends it to panelists, which means we at CK-12 are the only people who can see it. So just send it to all panelists and attendees, and everybody should be able to see. I should mention that this is being recorded and that we'll have the recording available at ck12.org/webinars within 24 hours if you need to share this with a colleague or if you need to revisit it yourself. We have also created a resource page for this webinar session. You can find it at this tiny URL that's on the screen, and probably one of my colleagues will put this in the chat window here in just a moment. But it is the tinyurl.com/CK12Google2020. This is just a resource page that you can use to follow along during the presentation, or it can just be saved to your desktop. It can be printed just later for a reference when you're trying to remember everything about CK-12 and Google Classroom. We hope that it's a good resource for you. So given that this is a short webinar, we're going to jump right into the content. But as we go, feel free to post any questions you have for us in the Q&A window. So let me go ahead and introduce you to Katie.
Thanks, Lindsay. So today's session is going to cover kind of two different components. The first is our FlexBook 2.0 platform and related modalities. So we'll do a quick overview of what that platform includes and the learning modalities such as videos, interactives, real-world applications, and more that can be assigned to classes in Google Classroom. And then the other half of today's webinar, we're going to also talk about Google Classroom integration, and we'll kind of do an overview of both of these at the beginning, and then I'll go live so you can see how this content is assigned and how you can see progress directly within Google Classroom. Because once you assign it there, nobody needs to access CK-12 to complete it or for you to see the progress.
Our newest FlexBook 2.0 lessons include text that often have embedded multimedia and questions, and corresponding practice or even a customized quiz. Other assignable resources, which can be found in the related modalities for a 2.0 lesson or individually across our site, include videos, simulations, Plix interactives, and real-world applications, or RWAs. We cover many of these in depth in other webinar sessions, but we're going to just introduce you to the idea of these here because they are shareable and assignable through Google Classroom.
So just to clarify kind of right off the bat, while you may see various options to share content to Google Classroom, whether you're using the little green share plane or the share button in FlexBook 2.0, this simply adds a link as an announcement or post. It will not allow you to see any scores or work students have done. So make sure that when you're coming from CK-12, if you want scores and reports, you're not using our share functionality. Instead, you're using the option assign or assign to class. Once you click on that, pick Google Classroom as your platform and send those assignments to your class on Google. From there, you'll be able to see progress whenever students access their work from within that Google class, complete it, and click Turn In.
When you assign FlexBook 2.0 lessons to Google Classroom, you are automatically assigning any matching practice or quiz that's attached to that lesson. Within Google, you'll see a score based on a goal of 10 correct for practice or a % correct for a quiz. All videos, interactives, real-world applications, and lessons without practice or quizzes attached will show up as full or no credit within Google. If you open the class report by clicking on the submission link with any practice quiz in Google, you'll see the % for quiz or practice, along with options to see more details, and a check mark for other modalities. Now, if you assign a FlexBook 2.0 lesson, you can also access our insights for that by opening up the assignment using the same link the students would from within Google Classroom, then clicking on the toolbar and insights. From there, you'll see time spent, a histogram of that time, a skill level for attached practice or % for a quiz, and even an engagement for new assignments. As we continue to release more insights, you'll even see recommendations and suggestions for paragraphs and questions to review, or suggestions for students. This is just an area our team is actively working on, and our system is getting smarter by the day. So stay tuned for more insights. With that, why don't I turn it over to Katie? I think you're gonna go live and show them what this looks like from within Google Classroom.
Yep, that I am. So hopefully you can all see my screen here, which has our main page. So if you are, I'm going to start by kind of walking you through what CK-12 offers and what you're going to do. So the first thing you want to do, I'm going to just go ahead and sign out for a second here, is you are, as the teacher, are the only one that actually needs to go in and log directly into CK-12. So you're going to go ahead and click join if you've never done this before, or sign in. And the easiest way to do this is to then just sign up with Google. So if you're logged into Google so that you have access to your Google classes, click that login or join with Google. If you don't have an account, create an account. Make sure you note that you're a teacher so that your assignment workflow works cleanly. And you are ready to go on CK-12. Now, everything that we offer is 100% free to use. We just asked you to log in so that we can help you keep all of your content and resources and assignments tagged to your account correctly. And from here, you can start exploring. So there's a couple different ways to go ahead and do that. The first is if you're looking for a particular topic. Let's say you want to teach something on the water cycle. You can look for this across all of CK-12. Then you have options to filter by grade, by subject, by type of resource. A really good resource that we have on here is like our real world applications. And if I click on that, then I can see some great projects or links to government data on different, natural disasters or things like that, and really get a chance to expand and explore and work out from there. So you are more than welcome to go ahead and just search for a topic and open that up and see how things play out. Note that we keep our content separate from anything a user has created. So we'll talk a little bit about the ability to customize in a second. But if you see content here, you can also find content that other users have made and created and added to our site under our license. Just know that our content and our quality, we update. And if someone accidentally mistypes a word or something like that in community contributed content, that would be on them to make that change. So go ahead and explore and check that out. This is another good thing if, let's say, I'm looking for literature content. So if you're looking for content kind of outside our core math and science content, then while we only have a little bit, you might find some great full FlexBooks or resources there as well. So you can find your content under CK-12 content, community contributed, and then anything you've created or customized, you'd actually be able to find in your library as well. Now, if you're looking for kind of more holistic content and not content for just a specific little piece, I recommend that you start either with our Explore menu or with our Subjects menu. So under Explore, you can get a really good sense of the different types of resources we offer, from full FlexBooks to practice that adapts to student learning, to our interactive simulations and Plix, and even more. From here, if you're, let's say, looking for content related to something that you have, you can click on the schools page. So I just clicked on Explore and then schools. And a really good example of content that a particular school has made is in California, where there's a county there called Merced County. And this spring, when they had to go online, they quickly created a set of resources. Let me go ahead and skim down here so you can see it all, for elementary math and science. And by doing this, they're able to kind of push these out in one easy to find place where that content is also available not only for the 22 districts in their county, but for you as well. So if you teach elementary math or science and you want a good place to start, these are some great resources that you could work off of. You could also go ahead and just explore. Let's say I want a great introduction for a particular topic. So I could go to our simulations, and I used to teach pre-calculus. So I always had to teach kind of this idea of projectile motion. And our simulations always start with some sort of open discussion question. You can kind of work your way through what's happening, try it out, check it out, go from there. And then they drop you into a sandbox environment. This environment allows students to work and explore, check things out, play with the variables that are related to this particular situation, and go from there. We have some great other resources such as tutorial videos to help them out, or challenge questions. There's even some questions that they can kind of try to answer by manipulating the sandbox. And then we always have additional resources that allow you to kind of expand and go from there. But really the heart of this is this idea of this interactive sandbox and chance to explore, especially as students aren't able to be in classes in person for labs in the same way they were before. Now this, just like our FlexBooks, which I'll show you in a second, can be easily assigned to Google Classroom. So to do that, anywhere you see this assign to class option or assign button on CK-12, you can simply click assign. And then you, if you're going to use Google Classroom, are going to ignore everything CK-12 related and just go ahead and click on Google Classroom. I can update this instructions, try out this simulation. I can make a note for myself in the title that this is a sim. And I can pick my classes. Because I'm logged in, my email address will work and I should be able to click. It says we need your permissions. I'm going to go ahead and connect to Google. It gives me one pop-up that notes the permissions. I click on my email address. And now I have access to all of the classes that are already set up in Google Classroom. These are not classes I set up in CK-12. They are classes that exist in Google Classroom. And I can go ahead and pick one or more classes, choose a due date for those, and assign this to that classroom. This will now show up in that fall class and my integration class, and it has been assigned to them. I can have my students go ahead and check that one out. So anywhere you see that assigned to class option, it's really simple to go ahead and click on that, access it, and you're good to go. Let's go back to CK-12 for a second. So we're going to go back to our Sims browser, and this great CK-12 link will get you back to the home page on CK-12, and you're welcome to explore even more. So from here, you could go explore our Plix interactives, our adaptive practice, all sorts of different options as you work your way through here. And we'll kind of get to more and more of them as we go through. You can also explore by standards if you're using Common Core Math or NGSS standards, and that will give you different concepts in our system that are tied directly to those resources. So go ahead and explore those as you go through. And then the heart of our content, our FlexBooks, you can find by clicking on our subjects menu here, or simply scrolling down to get to that same menu here. And you'll see that our core content is middle school and high school math and science. We have some elementary math videos in practice. We have some science readers that you can go ahead and check out. Or you could use, for example, that like Merced County example for elementary math and science if you want more of a full FlexBook with some practice attached. Well, let's go ahead and pick maybe our grade 7 math book. And in here, you can see different resources. This is our FlexBook 2.0 lesson. I could click on my standards alignment if I wanted to learn more about that particular piece. And I could go ahead in and pick, let's say, area and volume of 2 and 3D shapes. So what we try to do for any of our sections is we try to really supplement our content with all of these different resources. So here's another lesson, some videos, a real-world application, even some of our Plix interactives. And you can check any of those out from there. Once I'm inside a particular lesson, these are our newest books, so they have the most interactivity directly in them. And they have kind of an introduction piece. They'll have built-in interactives where students can actually go ahead and play around with different pieces. There's your center, there's your radius, there's your diameter, circumference, and all the rest. And then, as we said, there is the practice that's attached to it. And you as a teacher can preview it. Students would just see start practice, But when I click preview, I'm dropped into the same environment my students are dropped into. I could go ahead and check something. If I don't get it right, maybe I need a hint to help me out from here. So I can go ahead and check that. I can try again. Check that out. If I get it right, I'll keep going. And as I go through here, it's gonna eventually get me a skill level and help kind of get a sense of how things are going, what's happening, all of the rest of that particular piece. So this adjusts a student's skill level. The goal is to get 10 correct. And you'll see different pieces in terms of what's happening. When I stop here, I, as a teacher, can see my report on what I did, and we'll go into class reports in a second, and the student would see the same thing right there. In our 2.0 lessons, so anything in this nice white, streamlined, clean background, when I click assign, I'm assigning both the text lesson and the attached practice, or if you've customized it and swapped it out, a matching quiz. So I'm gonna go ahead and click assign. I'm gonna pick Google Classroom. I'm gonna assign this to my spring 2020 class. I can pick a future date if I wanted to kind of schedule some stuff out, but I want it to show up today, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it as today. And then let's say it's due then. I can change this as well. I can say this is a 2.0 with practice assignment, and I could put my instructions right here, whatever they happen to be, and go ahead and click assign. So you can log into CK-12, you can explore all you want, you can mix and match, you can even, I'm gonna just show you for 2 quick seconds, I could customize this practice if I wanted to do, or I could go into the book as a whole and I could customize this FlexBook, and that would allow me to mix and match sections, to edit content under our license, to create my own quizzes, all sorts of options. Customizing is kind of another whole training session, so go ahead and check out our webinars on those if you want to learn more. But there are opportunities to make this and tailor it to exactly what you're looking for. But once you've chosen whether it's a custom book or it's something that already exists on CK-12, because you're more than welcome to use it all as is, then you can go over to Google Classroom. And once it's assigned, everything else is going to happen inside Google Classroom. So you can see in spring 2020, I just posted this brand new assignment at 4:16 p.m. because I happen to be on the East Coast. And that's available there. If I looked at my other classes, I think I assigned in my fall 2019 class, the water fountain simulation a bit, and you can see in the instructions, the link to it, and my notes that you're gonna try out this simulation. So those are all options as you go through, you can kind of see what's happening. I'm gonna jump to our newest class that has the most up-to-date reports. And since no one did any of the work I assigned in the last 30 seconds, we'll check some stuff out here. So I assigned content to the summer 2020 Google class. Anything my students have done, I will be able to find under grades. If they did the work on CK-12 and they submitted it, you'll start seeing content populated here. After I assigned content, I just went in and edited it to note the point value if I wanted to change that point value, or I could even kind of deselect some students in the edit option to show that it's not assigned to them within Google Classroom. On CK-12, we don't know that you've made that change, so we're gonna just show it as not being completed. But here on Google itself, you can see kind of all of these grades that were submitted automatically. We push them back into Google Classroom, so you don't have to even look at CK-12 to see what's happening. If I went into any particular lesson, so I, as the teacher, see that class report submitted. I can click on this link to open up a class report, or I can click on the link. Now your students are gonna do this. They're gonna go to the instructions tab for a lesson, whatever their assignment is, it's gonna look like this. It has the title, the point value, and the link, and they're gonna click on this link. And they will be dropped directly into the lesson itself, but you have 2 options when you click on that link. One option is to open up the class report, so I can go ahead and do that, and that will give me all of the resources that have been completed by this class so far on CK-12. And I can dig deeper into any of them that I want to see what's happening. So if I go ahead and I click on this, you can see that the skill level here is proficient. The time spent was this. You can see the level of easy, medium, and hard questions, and even the questions and answers, tries, all the rest that they completed from here. So all of that is available in that detailed class report from CK-12. The goal of practice is to get 10 correct. So you'll see this 100% here as you go through. And different students may hit that at different times because it really does adapt. This student completed 14 questions. This student completed 13 questions, but is still developing. They struggled some more with some of the medium questions that we thought were a little more important based on the system, as opposed to kind of making it all the way to the hard questions and then only struggling there. So you can see all of those details. For quizzes, you'll see like a true assessment score. If you allow multiple options, you can see both of those, and then the time spent and the questions themselves. All of that is available there. I even, for this particular one, decided I wanted to give an extra couple of points. And so if I go back into the grades for that class, you'll see here that I've overwritten that and I allowed the student to get a couple extra points. So you're welcome to kind of make a decision if you need to adjust anything on that. But once again, that's not going to be reflected in CK-12. This is the grade that was pushed out to Google, and you can kind of work from there. The other option in here is the chance to preview that assignment. And that gives you a chance to see what students are seeing. This is the same view that they're going to see. They're just not going to see the assign button. They at the top will see a turn in button, and they do want to make sure that they turn that in. I, as a user, have created some notes. I can see any of my notes that I've created under here. Those are per account. So feel free to encourage students to write their own notes, but they will not see your notes and they won't see each other's notes. That's just kind of your own reference there as you go through. Now, kind of that introduction screen that you saw at the beginning with all those pieces, you still get the related content, any resources you might want to check out as you go through. But because I access this from Google Classroom, I can now click on Insights, and it knows what class I'm asking about for insights. You can see here the summer 2020 option, and I can quickly browse through my students. Katie spent 10 minutes on this lesson, spent less than a minute checking out this interactive, a minute and a half trying that interactive, read through some stuff, looks like didn't really answer any of those questions, try this simulation that got popped out for those different pieces. All sorts of options. Here's an example of an interactive that maybe they tried here or opened it up into a full Plix piece, but are kind of playing around doing different components. All sorts of options. So I can see the time and where they spent their time on this lesson. You'll see that change if I click through for different students. And I'll see their practice skill level or their score for a quiz in the middle. This summer, we released an engagement score, which kind of gives a sense of if there were opportunities to watch a video or check out an interactive or do something like that. Did the student actually try to interact with the material? Did they try to take some notes? What did they do to really not just skim to the bottom and do the practice, but actually engage with the lesson? So that's all available now. This fall, we're launching some more class level insights where you'll be able to kind of chart engagement versus skill level for your class. And we will be giving out different recommendations, such as all the students that have a higher skill level, watch this video or try this interactive. You may want to encourage students to go ahead and do that as well. So just keep in mind that if you open up the link directly from the classwork of any lesson that has practice or a quiz, that was the properties of translation. Let's go ahead and open this one. Same deal. If I open this link and instead of popping out my class report, I simply go ahead and I click on the preview assignment option. I can then check out those insights and see how my class did on that particular lesson. So explore on CK-12, make assignments to Google Classroom, and then go ahead and access our insights, our full class report, or any other components as you're going through directly from Google Classroom after you've made those assignments. So Lindsay, how are we doing on questions?
We've been answering a bunch via text, and our team has flagged a few for you. Why don't I go ahead and take the screen back? I do want to make sure everybody hears some kind of wrap up information, and then Katie, I'll let you kind of browse through what's come through Q&A and see what we should demo at the end. So let me share some information with all of you. The first thing is that we have a certified educator program that as of this month is fully on demand, and you can complete it on your own schedule. So if you are interested in learning more about our free CK-12 Certified Educator program, if you want to get good at CK-12, if you'd like to know more about some of those things that you were asking, you know, about quizzes or customizing materials, our Certified Educator program is going to help you learn all of that. You can go to ck12.org/certified, and there will be a register or join button for you, and you can get started with the program at your convenience. We mentioned this earlier, that there is this tinyurl.com/CK12 Google 2020 resource page. I just recommend that you download that and keep it on your desktop, and then use it as a reference if you need to later on down the line. YouTube is a great resource. I don't know if you guys have checked out our YouTube channel. It does just present things in a different way from how our videos are presented on our site or on our webinars page. And I want to call particular attention to a playlist that says CK-12 Quick Overviews right there in the middle. We've recently created a number of short 1 to 3 minute videos to help you with key skills on CK-12. And these include customizing content, creating assignments, using Google Classroom, and more. So feel free to check those along with our other offerings on our YouTube channel, and we're going to keep adding to that playlist. So check it out if you ever need a quick lesson or a refresher. Webinars. This is actually the last webinar that we have scheduled for August. Our team is regrouping and getting ready to launch a schedule for September and beyond. So stay tuned for upcoming announcements from CK-12 about more webinars. But in the meantime, you can go to ck12.org/webinars and scroll down to the archived section, and you're going to see the most recent recording of webinars that we've done. You'll find one such as one we did this month with a panel of students talking about their experience with school during COVID. You can see one that's about how strategies on how we think we're a flexible learning solution for online, in-person, hybrid learning right now. Just know that these are all great resources for you as you're getting used to exploring CK-12. Okay, so we're about to that half-hour mark. So any of you who need to jump off, you feel like you got the information, you got your questions answered, go ahead and jump off the webinar. Anybody who still has questions, type them into the Q&A window. I'm going to pass it back over to Katie to demo here in a second. You can always email support@ck12.org if you have any specific questions or issues that we can help you with. And then, of course, we encourage you to follow us on all the social media. We are at CK-12 Foundation, and we appreciate you spreading the word about our free resources and how easy they are to use in this challenging time that we're in. So again, if you are heading off, thanks for joining us today. Otherwise, Katie, why don't I bring you back on and let's see where we're at in the Q&A window.
Sure, we had a request to see what it looks like for a student. So this is my student demo account. I'm gonna go ahead and open up this class. So I can open up any assignment. Let's say I open up this lesson. You can see here that the student hasn't completed this work. It's currently missing. They're gonna click on that link. And they're gonna get bumped directly into that lesson. In this case, there's core content and a quiz attached. So I actually customized this content before I assigned it and swapped out a quiz. So I can go ahead in through this lesson, check it out, see what's happening, try a video, all the rest of it. And I'm gonna start this quiz here or start the practice if it was practice. I would work my way through this, see what's happening. Now notice that this doesn't have the same hints because it's a quiz and I didn't necessarily set it up with that. So I can check this, see what's happening. I'm just randomly guessing, so I'm not doing super well as we go through here. And check out and find out what's happening. So this is not scientific notation. This is scientific notation. Let's actually get one right in here. I can pause and resume my quiz or submit it. So right now, I didn't do much. I didn't really do very well on it, but I did actually do something on this. So here I could go ahead and I could try this again because I had multiple attempts. But at some point I'm gonna need to turn it in. Right now it's red because my assignment's due on August 12th, which is past. So I have one chance to kind of submit it afterwards and have it marked late. But that is what they would see. They are going to go ahead and check it out and access their work from within Google, turn that in, and then you can see for any of the assignments that have been submitted. Let's see if I look at my classwork. I can see this one has been submitted, and I have that it's graded. If I view this assignment, you can see that it's graded, and I have 50 out of 100 points on it. So the students do get to see their point value within Google as well. So that's a super quick tour on there. I'm going to swap back to sharing a teacher screen because we had a question about assigning components. When I assign a lesson in a FlexBook 2.0, I am assigning the core text and the matching practice. I am not assigning anything else from here. If I want to assign this PLIX as well and get a score on the PLIX, which would be complete or incomplete, I'm going to go ahead and open that up. You can see here on our PLIX, we have some questions and directions. The student can interact and see what actually passes through, goes from there, and then can kind of answer these questions. I would have to assign this separately to my class. Or similarly, click on any, let's say, video as we go through here. And if I want to assign it, I would click out. This right now would bump you back to our older system, this kind of more orange and background color. And I can click the same thing, assign to class, and then pick Google. So you would need to assign those separately if you want a separate grade. If you just want your student to go through them, then in the directions when you assign it, maybe say check out the attached video or other component as you go from here. And then we had some questions about accessing content offline. So if I look at this practice, I can go ahead and download a worksheet for this practice. That would pull a subset of our practice into a worksheet, try to give a balance of multiple choice, open answer questions, easy, medium, and hard questions, and you could give that to a student if they needed to access that. We also allow you to download any customized FlexBook. So if I go ahead into my library and I open, let's say, a FlexBook I've created, FlexBook 2.0 lessons, we can see some different pieces here. So let's try this. In here, I can go ahead and at the book level, the very last option is to download the PDF. Now, this is no longer adaptive. This is not interactive. The PDF would include some quick links for any embedded interactivity in there, or a video or something like that, but they are not, you're just sharing the text. So you may actually find some of our older resources more download friendly because they have less interactivity in there and more text as you go through.
Katie, the 3 questions that are in Q&A right now all have the same theme, which I think people just need a little more clarification on. Will students need to register or just teachers? Do students need to set up a CK-12 account or just teachers? And if they click on the assignment from Google Classroom, will they automatically create their account?
I, as the teacher, need to log into CK-12 to customize content and make assignments. My students, as you saw, just opened up that lesson within Google Classroom. It carried their credentials straight through. It carried their class information straight through, and they were able to turn in their work automatically from there. They do not need a separate account. They do not need to register directly for CK-12. They are good to go. And our system allows you to kind of use any of these resources, whether you're using them in person, online, all the rest of it. This doesn't have like video capability in it. It's just the curriculum that goes with that. So you might use that inside Google Meet, because if you guys are using Google Classroom, Google Meet should be built into that component, or you could use another video platform as well.
All right, Katie, well, I think we've reached the end of our Q&A. If any of you have questions that were unanswered today, again, email support@ck12.org. But we thank you for joining us, and we're certainly wishing you all the best as you guys begin your school year. So hope to see you on a future webinar. Thanks so much.